This message is for somebody who's been waiting on God for a long period of time, and you've been stewarding this season of waiting to the best of your ability, and you feel like you've done all the right things and you've been obedient, you've been faithful and consistent, but you still haven't yet seen God come through in that way that He's told you that He would, whatever it is you're waiting on. And there's a bit of a dissonance going on in your mind where you still believe God is faithful and that He can do it, but you begin to doubt and question, did He really say that? Did He really say He was going to do this? Maybe somehow I've missed it. Maybe I've done something wrong and God's not pleased with me. And there's like this just back and forth war between yourself and, I want to say, God, but a lot of times it ends up becoming our own battle that we're picking up, because we end up leaning on our own understanding and, again, going back to, depending on our own flesh to figure things out. And that's the whole part of the silence and the wait that is very challenging, and that tests us, because we have to be willing to die to that part of ourselves that wants control, that wants certainty and answers or comfort from God. And sometimes God doesn't always give us that, and that's a part of the test, because He wants to see, do you really trust Him, and do you really love Him for who He is, not what He can give you? Could you still remain faithful and obedient to Him even if you didn't get what you wanted? And that is a really big test of a son or a daughter of God, one who is still going to trust Him and be faithful in what He's called you to, just because you love Him, not because of what you can get from Him. It really matters, because the more that we trust Him in that way as our Father and continue to stay in that place of waiting upon the Lord, that's where we really mature, and that's where the relationship and intimacy with Him really grows. Because if we're so caught up on tying our peace and our happiness with an outcome, then we've really missed the whole point of why God has brought us in this season to begin with. And this is something He's continuing to teach me and mature me in, because, again, I can get easily, distracted, or focusing my heart's affections on things that are temporary rather than on Him who's eternal, who's forever. And I think it's something that we have to let it marinate. The truth that He's teaching you in this time of waiting, let that truth marinate in your spirit, and continue to nurture those truths that He's teaching you, and continuing to encourage yourself in the Lord. And I know it's easier said than done, but the more that we humble ourselves and depend upon Him, the more strength that we'll receive as we're waiting upon the Lord. But when we start to get angry, or even begin to be tempted to act out because we're leaning on our own understanding, or we're just getting angry with God or frustrated with Him because He hasn't yet given it to you, it's really important that we recognize the posture of our heart in this time. And that's a part of what God is doing in this time as well, is revealing that to you and continuing to mature you in areas that you're not yet matured. And I think this is like one of those things where, we'd like for it to just be, okay, like, He taught us this, we're good, we got it, let's move on. But it just doesn't work that way. It really takes time for that to grow and to simmer. And it's, like a pot of soup, that all those flavors have to just simmer together, and it over time, as it's cooking and the heat is just simmering all those good flavors together, that's when it gets good and delicious after, once you actually do eat that bowl of soup that you've been waiting on. It looked ready at the time, when you first put it on there and it's been cooking for maybe 15 minutes, you're thinking, yeah, I think it should be okay. But it's not as delicious as when it just sits there and it cooks and it cooks and it cooks, and then you finally taste it and you're like, this is amazing, and I'm so glad that I waited. So similarly, we're going to be grateful that we waited upon the Lord, and that we trusted Him, and that He knew the timing and not us. And we are becoming people of character and people that are rooted and grounded in Christ, and that's a gift in and of itself. So think about all the hidden gifts that you're getting out of this season rather than focusing on what you don't have. Start practicing that gratitude with the Lord, and just begin choosing to see the good that's coming out of it rather than focusing on the negative. So I hope this encourages you as you're in your waiting season. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you're not a part of the family, I ask that you subscribe. Maybe you could share this video with somebody that it can encourage. So be blessed, and I'll see you in the next video.